A lot of fascinating women back in the Golden Age were known for having many scandals and affairs. It's not much different today, but today we're going to talk about some of the most well-known women who were known for having many scandals, including affairs. If you enjoy my videos, please consider subscribing and like. I put a lot of effort into these videos. Let's begin. Marilyn Monroe is widely regarded as one of the most iconic women in Hollywood, but she was far from a saint. Marilyn was involved in numerous scandals, including one with President John F. Kennedy. There has been much speculation about her alleged affair with JFK while he was married to Jackie Kennedy. Additionally, some have suggested that her rumored relationships with President Kennedy, who was assassinated on November 22nd, 1963, just over a year after Monroe's death, and his brother, Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy, may have had significant implications. Before she died, Monroe's personal life was in shambles. She married and divorced 3 times, and many believe she had or was still having affairs with both Kennedy brothers. It was reported that she had threatened to hold a press conference divulging her relationships with them. Rumors surrounding Monroe's affair with JFK were greatly fueled by her sultry performance of Happy Birthday for the president at his 45th birthday celebration at Madison Square Garden on May 19, 1962, just months before her untimely death. This iconic moment solidified the speculation and left a lasting mark on both of their legacies. Ava Gardner is an unforgettable figure in Hollywood history, known not only for her stunning beauty and iconic films, but also for her scandalous love life, particularly her passionate relationship with Frank Sinatra. The new biography, Ava, A Life in Movies, by Kendra Bean and Anthony Uzorowski, thoroughly explores the vibrant and tumultuous life of this screen siren, both on and off the silver screen. She was divorced twice before the age of 25. After being discovered via pictures taken by her brother-in-law, Gardner made her way to Hollywood, where she quickly attracted the attention of young star Mickey Rooney. Though their managing studio, MGM, didn't want the two to date in order to protect Rooney's image, they were married just after her 19th birthday in 1942, a first for both of them. Their relationship was unfortunately doomed, as the then 21-year-old Rooney couldn't give up his bachelor lifestyle, and Gardner realized she wasn't really in love with him. They divorced 9 months after getting married, with Gardner citing mental cruelty as the reason for their split. Gardner's second short-lived marriage was to bandleader Artie Shaw in 1945. They divorced the next year, and the jazz musician was said to be cruel to Gardner, whom he pushed to become more educated. After a string of affairs with various co-stars, Gardner reconnected with Frank Sinatra and started what would be the most defining relationship of her career. The two first met in 1943 when she was at a club with Mickey Rooney, and Sinatra was immediately captivated by her. Though they saw each other occasionally for the next few years, Sinatra was happily married to his longtime sweetheart, Nancy, and the two kept their distance until a fateful 1949 meeting at MGM. The two entered into an affair, often getting into trouble during their escapades, like the time Sinatra's publicist had to get them out of jail after a drunken joyride at 3 a.m., left several storefront windows blown out by the couple's 2 pistols. Ava Gardner finally met the male version of herself, you could say. And it's even get messier. Sinatra was still married, and the book recounts a time when an insistent Gardner made the crooner drive to his house, where he phoned his wife Nancy, asking her to confirm to the actress that he had asked her for a divorce. Though Nancy initially refused to give in, she eventually granted Sinatra a divorce, and he married Gardner in 1951. She had 2 abortions while married to Sinatra. While the two traveled to Nairobi for Gardner's role in Mogambo, Gardner became pregnant with Sinatra's child and chose to have an abortion after Sinatra left without telling him. According to the book, Gardner wanted a family, but not if she couldn't provide her children the stability she had growing up. With their relationship already showing signs of strain, and after a few brief separations, Gardner chose to have an abortion in late 1952. Frank Sinatra was reportedly devastated when he learned about the abortion, but he and Ava Gardner continued to attempt to make their challenging relationship work. When Gardner became pregnant again and chose to terminate the pregnancy, Sinatra was there when she woke up, tears streaming down his face. The couple had multiple affairs before divorcing in 1957. When Ava's blockbuster film Mogambo wrapped its shoot in 1953, a surprising turn of events occurred. When you think it couldn't get any worse, Ava impulsively packed her things and jetted off to Madrid to pursue a steamy affair with Spain's most popular bullfighter, Luis Miguel Dominguin. After both had multiple affairs, they divorced in 1957, but remained close friends until her death in 1990. I forgot to mention that Frank didn't let Ava go easily before granting her a divorce. He spent the intervening years trying to win back her love through countless romantic gestures, both in private and in public, including creating an entire album dedicated to her. However, all his efforts were ultimately unsuccessful. After divorcing Frank, Ava had numerous affairs, including one with Fred McMurray. She ended it upon discovering that he had a sick wife. She didn't object to secret adultery, but when a guy was two-timing a sick wife, she objected to that strongly, her housekeeper Renee Jordan said in the book.
And why is that your business?
Gardner had an open mind about adultery and often cried foul at the double standards that allowed men to sleep around while women were shamed. Later in life, she expressed a wish that she had prioritized education and family over her career. Gardner retired from Hollywood towards the end of her life, but in 1986 she suffered a stroke while recovering from pneumonia, which left her partially paralyzed. She passed away due to bronchial pneumonia on January 25th, 1990, after having her last cigarette and a glass of champagne, according to her housekeeper. Do you remember the legendary Audrey? Audrey Hepburn moved through her films like a sorrowful swan, often unsure of her own beauty. For years, she was seen as the anti-Marilyn, a thoughtful, graceful figure favored by those who longed for the gentility that they believed had been driven from Hollywood's idyllic realm by Monroe and the more overtly sexual stars that followed in her wake. Over time, it has become clear that Hepburn had a distinctive sensuality. Despite her ethereal beauty, she was also strongly sexual. She had extramarital affairs with William Holden, Robert Anderson, and Ben Gazzara. Additionally, she was a conflicted and somewhat melancholy person, not too different from Marilyn's own struggles. Hepburn came out of war-torn Belgium with an abiding sense of the crevasse beneath the high wire and a very odd bloodline. Her mother was a baroness, her father an emotionally remote fascist. Both parents raised money for Oswald Mosley. She came to acting through dance and was a star in both theater, Gigi in 1951, and movies, Roman Holiday in 1953, before she was 24. As is often the case, her professional success was unmatched by personal satisfaction. Her first husband was a sepulchral, charmless Mel Ferrer who tried to leverage their marriage into a directorial career. His successor was Andrea Dotti, an Italian psychiatrist with zipper problems. It was only near the end of her life, with her work for UNICEF and a relationship with the actor Robert Wolders, that she seems to have found some contentment. Brigitte Bardot, the iconic sex symbol of the 60s, has had a life as epic as her film career, filled with drama. She had over 100 lovers, including women, and she attempted to take her own life at least 4 times. This number matches the number of husbands she has had. This information comes from a new book about the French actress, model, and singer. At the time, she had just fallen in love with Roger Vadim, who was then a director's assistant and 6 years her senior, after meeting him at a movie casting. They began an intense affair, but when Brigitte Bardot's wealthy Parisian parents found out, they threatened to send her away to England. At the ages of 15 and 16, Brigitte attempted to take her life, partly because of the affair and the pressure from her parents. They eventually agreed to allow the couple's relationship, but prohibited them from marrying until Bardot turned 18. When Bardot reached that age in 1952, she married for the first time. She was captivated by the charismatic Frenchman. He left the impression of a wild wolf on her, Bardot wrote. He looked at me, scared me, attracted me. I didn't know where I was anymore, as noted by Jeanette Van Sandeau, author of the book Brigitte Bardot, The Life, the Legend, the Movies. She wanted him, but not for long. Vadim made his directorial debut in December 1956 in God Created Woman, starring his wife. On set, however, Bardot fell in love with her co-star Jean-Louis Trintignant, and I mean, can you really blame her? And after 4 short years of marriage, she and Vadim divorced. Brigitte Bardot was certainly rich in these qualities. After her affair with Jean-Louis Trintignant, she reportedly had relationships with as many as 100 men and women. Eventually, she met and married her second husband, French actor Jacques Charrier, with whom she had her only child. Bardot has openly expressed her reluctance to be a mother and her resentment towards her pregnancy. In her memoir, she recounts her shock at discovering she was pregnant in 1959 when she was just 25 years old. She writes, "I looked at my flat, slender belly in the mirror like a dear friend upon whom I was about to close a coffin lid." She revealed, in an attempt to abort the child, repeatedly punching herself in the stomach and begging her doctor for morphine. The revelations lead to a lawsuit by her ex-husband and son, Nicholas, who was raised by Charrier after their 3-year marriage ended. Bardot was ordered to pay her son damages for the distress caused by her book, in which she referred to her unborn child as a cancerous tumor and expressed that she would have preferred to give birth to a little dog. On her 26th birthday in 1960, shortly after Nicholas was born, Bardot attempted to erase herself again by consuming a bottle of sleeping pills and cutting her wrists at her villa in France, as revealed in the new book. Unsurprisingly, Bardot has had a deeply troubled relationship with Nicolas. She was not invited to his wedding in 1982 and did not see him for a decade. However, they are believed to have reconciled recently after she became a great-grandmother for the first time. Bardot confessed years later, "I'm not made to be a mother. I'm not adult enough. I know it's terrible to admit that, but I'm not adult enough to take care of a child." After more attempts and more husbands, her third husband, German playboy Gunter Sachs, erased himself in 2011, Bardot turned her attention to animal rights activism and established a foundation to care for suffering animals in 1986. "I gave my youth and my beauty to men. I am now giving my wisdom and my experience, the best of myself, to animals," Bardot is quoted as saying. Bardot married her fourth husband, politician Bernard Dormal, in 1992. The couple lived together, along with a menagerie of stray animals, at a secluded property in Saint-Tropez. Lauren Bacall and Humphrey Bogart, the iconic couple of old Hollywood, shared a legendary love story. Despite appearing devoted to each other throughout their 12-year marriage, they did engage in emotional affairs, as suggested by a new book, In Bogey and Bacall: The Surprising True Story of Hollywood's Greatest Love Affair. Author William J. Mann reveals unexpected insights into the lives of this storied pair. "They did have their differences," Mann told Fox News, "especially at the beginning when Bacall was trying to establish herself as more than just Mrs. Bogart. Their relationship was romantic, it was loving and committed, but it was not always emotionally faithful." Bacall was 19 when she met 45-year-old Bogart on the set of their film To Have and Have Not in 1944. At the time, the actor from Casablanca was married to his third wife, Mayo Maythott. They divorced, and he then married Lauren Bacall in 1945. According to Mann, Bacall was terrified when she started dating Bogart. She feared that the public would label her as the other woman or view her as a femme fatale, even though Bogart's marriage to Maythott was falling apart. Bronx native Humphrey Bogart had his own concerns. Bogey was also very worried. He didn't want to lose his standing in Hollywood, but he also didn't want to lose her. In the beginning, there was a lot of nervousness, Mann said, but they both yearned to be together. The emotional affairs reportedly began around 1952 when Bogart and Lauren Bacall became supporters of Democrat Adlai Stevenson's presidential campaign. In the book, Mann writes that The Mirror has two faces actress and Stevenson had become quite close, and she was rarely far from his side with Bogey somewhere in the background. He also insisted that her relationship with the politician was never actually physical. However, it was definitely an affair of the heart. Bacall and Stevenson's friendship continued until the end of the campaign when Republican Dwight D. Eisenhower won by a landslide in November 1952. She was reportedly devastated by Stevenson's loss and even tried to stay in touch with him after the election, but it was difficult to keep contact, and it seemed like she was more into him than he was into her. While she loved Bogey, Mann said that Stevenson had awakened some part of herself that she had never known before. Bacall eventually withdrew her advances. In many ways, I believe it was the most intense, emotional, and intellectually stimulating relationship of her life, Mann stated. Bogart also had his share of affairs. According to the author, he started an affair with wig maker Verda Thompson before he met Bacall. Thompson had crafted hair pieces for Bogart early in his career as he began to lose his hair. According to Mann, Bogart and the hairstylist were incredibly close and shared a loving relationship. They weren't far apart in age and had many common interests, including a shared fondness for drinking and sailing. Both could hold their liquor well. Thompson reportedly hoped that Bogart would propose to her after he separated from Methot. When he ended his relationship with her to be with Bacall, the wigmaker felt hurt and devastated. However, as time passed, Bogart and Thompson reestablished their connection, which seemed to be more emotional. Mann notes that as Bacall was discovering her own world, life, and friendships, figures like Adlai and Bogart increasingly turned to Verita for companionship. The two would often go sailing on Bogart's yacht, and Thompson even cut the hair of Bogart and Bacall's children. In many ways, she was considered part of the family. Bacall was aware of her presence. Although she never felt completely comfortable with her, she understood that this relationship was very important to Bogey. However, Bogart and Bacall were uniquely devoted to each other. In early 1956, Bogart was diagnosed with throat cancer, likely caused by his heavy smoking and drinking. Bacall never left his side and became his caregiver, even sitting with him at the hospital and holding the stitches together on his abdomen when they came apart. She sleeps next to him when he weighs around 80 pounds because he asks her, "Don't leave me tonight." Of course, she stays awake all night. Next on our list is the iconic Lana Turner. Hollywood stars have been entangled in some of the biggest scandals in tabloid history, and perhaps none more so than Lana Turner. The events surrounding Turner, her lover, and her daughter in 1958 ignited an unprecedented media frenzy, becoming a tale of love and tragedy. During the 1940s and 1950s, Lana Turner was one of the most famous actresses in the world, embodying the glitz and glamour of Golden Age Hollywood. Known primarily for her immense beauty and on-screen charisma, Turner's personal life was marked by scandal and heartache. At the center of Turner's legacy as one of Hollywood's most controversial figures is the event of April 4th, 1958. On that night at Turner's home in Beverly Hills, her lover, mobster Johnny Stompanato, was killed when Turner's 14-year-old daughter, Cheryl Crane, stabbed him to death with a kitchen knife. This incident became a scandal that rocked Hollywood. Lana Turner was born Julia Jean Mildred Frances Turner on February 8, 1921 in Wallace, Idaho. Her father, Virgil, was a miner. Struggling to find steady work, he moved the family to San Francisco when Lana was still a child. It was there, while sipping soda in the Top Hat malt shop with her mother, that 16-year-old Lana was discovered by a Hollywood talent scout. Offered a screen test that she passed effortlessly, young Lana signed a contract with MGM, one of the biggest film studios in the world at the time. Now regarded as one of Turner's most iconic roles, The Postman Always Rings Twice was a significant commercial success. It established Turner as one of Hollywood's leading actresses of that era and solidified her status as a sex symbol, shaping her public image as an alluring figure. By 1957, at the age of 36, Turner had already been married 5 times to 4 different men. Despite his reputation, Turner became infatuated with Stompanato and began a tumultuous affair with him. Their relationship was marked by jealousy and fights, and at its worst, it involved physical abuse. Stompanato was known for being possessive, controlling, and violent, often threatening Turner and her family. On one occasion, he appeared on the set of Turner's film, Another Time, Another Place, 1958, and allegedly pointed a gun at her co-star, Sean Connery. Events reached a critical point on the fateful night of April 4th, 1958. What transpired that evening has been a subject of debate and speculation for decades. According to the testimony of Turner's daughter, Cheryl Crane, the following events occurred. After spending the evening at Lana Turner's Beverly Hills mansion, a heated argument erupted between Lana and her boyfriend, Johnny Stompanato. Stompanato was furious because he believed that Turner was seeing other men. Meanwhile, Turner was upset because she had discovered that Stompanato was involved in illegal activities despite his promise to stop. During the argument, Stompanato became physically violent towards Turner and attacked her with a leather belt. Cheryl Crane was also in the house at the time and heard the altercation taking place. Coming downstairs, Crane saw Stompanato attacking her mother and yelling that he was going to kill her. Believing Stompanato was capable of carrying out his threat, Crane dashed to the kitchen. She picked up a knife and plunged it into Stompanato's stomach. He was rushed to the hospital but died a short time later from his injuries. There's more to the story, and I will be working on a biopic about Lana Turner soon. What do you think about the video? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more great content. Until next time!